And welcome to another Free Friday tidbit. This is the day after Thanksgiving in the US. And if you'll pardon my casual attire, I woke up with a horrible migraine that I'm still waiting for meds to work on. I'm going to keep today kind of brief. I hope you'll understand and give me that grace. Um, there actually, for some bizarre reason, I was thinking that this month there were 5 Fridays. There's only four. So, the last two topics that I had in mind to bring you today had to do with, oh gosh, where'd they go? Hang on. Um, had to do with not understanding personal boundaries or personal space, was one. And that's actually the one we're going to talk about. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the second one after we wrap up with this one. Oftentimes what you'll see with your folks, whether they're littles or whether they're adults now, but the folks in your life with FASD, oftentimes, not always, we are all affected in different ways, but a lot of times there's a non-awareness of people's personal boundaries. It is an abstract concept. Um, and that's oftentimes very difficult to negotiate. Um, but these are the kids that, or the people that come in too close. They touch without permission. Whether it's demanding hugs or intrusively giving hugs when you're indicating, back off. This is my space. And yet they're very aware of their own boundaries. So that's very confusing and oftentimes adds to a caregiver's frustrations, not to mention siblings' frustrations, peer frustrations. Um, so it's just a matter of building in those reminders periodically or as part of the preparation for a transition into a situation where this may become an issue of just that reminder, right? The last topic that I wanted to talk about in November was having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, or conversely, sleeping for really long periods of time. And that, staying asleep for a long, long time, that is often a reflection of the amount of extra calories that it takes to keep the brain running, right? We've talked about this in the past, the need for eating every 2 hours, right? The cravings for sugar or fats, because that's what the brain uses. Fats convert to blood sugar very quickly. Um, anyway, it has to do with that. It takes so much more energy to make it through a day just doing the basic things, right? Because and you'll notice that, and I think I've used this analogy before, if you're driving somewhere and there's an unexpected detour and you end up, you're not going the shortest route anymore, so it takes up a lot more fuel, right? Your gas tank goes down a lot faster. Well, same thing with the brain. A fully functioning, healthy brain uses, even though it's 2% of our body weight, uses 25% of our energy. And a brain that has been damaged by prenatal exposures, including to alcohol, or illnesses, or whatever the case, maybe lack of oxygen during delivery, whatever the case is, a brain that has been injured for whatever reason has to do a lot of extra work for messages to get from point A to point B. And if it's a very complicated task, there's a whole lot more than point B, right? So it really sucks down the energy and that leaves people very tired and fatigued. So it may be that your loved one sleeps for really long periods of time. So of course you're going to want to adjust their bedtime so that they do get that adequate rest. As for the difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, it might be that their brain just has difficulty down regulating, right? And kind of slowing down, or it might be a reflection of any trauma that they have been through. So as you'll recall, statistically speaking, people with FASD tend to have a lot more adverse childhood experiences, particularly if they've been involved with the child welfare system. Then they have been removed from their parents because of a lot of adverse conditions wherein they may have learned for their own survival they had to sleep with one eye open. Right. So they have trained themselves to rest very lightly and not get the required sleep that they need, because that would leave them very, very vulnerable. So those may be all the reasons, but if you want to know solutions, then I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned to my podcast, Living with FASD, Candid Conversations with Patty Casper, because on Monday, right, just 3 days from now, I'm going to be sitting down again with Dr. Jared Brown and recording a 2-part series that I'm going to air back to back. So there'll be a bonus episode, a 2-part series on sleep, its causes, its effect, the sleep issues, the causes of it, the impacts of it upon us, upon us, those who live with FASD, and what we can do about it, right? The second part is going to be the interventions and what can be done to help. So keep an eye out for that. And that episode should be airing toward the end of December. So, because that's going to be episode 28. And I believe that this week that is now wrapping up is episode 23, I believe. Or it might be, I think it's episode 23. Or it might be episode 24. So we've got a little ways till that episode airs, but it's coming up. So stay tuned for it. You're not going to want to miss it if you or your loved one suffers with issues with sleep. So to wrap up November's Free Friday tidbits, you're just going to want to be aware that personal space is an issue, and you can help manage that by spending extra time during that transition into a new activity where it may become an issue, just doing some reminders, right, of respecting other people's boundaries, reminding of the fact that other people do have personal space and they can get triggered. So to keep things running smooth, being respectful. And then the sleep, be watchful for that episode 28 with Dr. Jared Brown toward the end of December. And for now, enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving weekend, whether it's filled with watching the Macy's parade or football games or getting all of your holiday shopping done. Speaking of holiday shopping, you might pick up a copy of my book, Sip by Sip, Candid Conversations with People Diagnosed as Adults with Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorders, or FASD. It is a gift that can bring greater self-understanding to the people in your life who may not realize that they have suffered brain injuries from before they were born. People who have seem to struggle more in life than others, who have found some things that seem to be so easy for most people to be challenging, or who have felt odd or different, or set apart from others, or who have faced rejection quite a bit but never understood why. Because as I've said many times, the diagnostic rate for FASD is so abysmally low that most of us go through our lives being blamed, shamed, and punished by other people just for being ourselves. And we end up internalizing all those messages, wondering, why is life so stinking hard? So go to Amazon, look up my name, Patricia Casper, Casper's with a K, and you will find us. And I'll see if I can throw an Amazon link into the show notes for this. And yeah, it's a nice, inexpensive, life-giving gift. So enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend and enjoy those leftovers and take good care. See you all on Monday for the Living with FASD episode coming up, and next Friday for the beginning of our last month of Free Friday Tidbits. Take good care, everyone.